The question was small, almost invisible against the noise of the city, yet it carried the weight of a lifetime. "Can you give me $1?" The homeless man's voice trembled as he spoke, standing near the steps where power and privilege usually passed by without stopping. His clothes were worn thin by years of cold mornings and sleepless nights, his eyes tired but still hopeful. People hurried past, eyes down, pretending not to hear. Then John Kennedy stopped. What happened next would ripple far beyond that street corner, reminding millions that sometimes the most shocking moments come not from grand speeches, but from quiet human choices. It was an ordinary afternoon by Washington standards. Staffers rushed between buildings, phones pressed to their ears, schedules packed tight. John Kennedy, known for his sharp wit and polished public persona, was walking with purpose when the question reached him. For a moment, everything slowed. The homeless Mana, his name was later learned to be Michaela, didn't look angry or demanding. He looked exhausted, the kind of exhaustion that comes from being ignored day after day, from asking for help and bracing yourself for rejection before the answer even comes. Michael had asked for $1 not because he believed it would change his life, but because it might get him through the next hour. Most people expected Kennedy to do what so many others did, reach for a pocket, drop a coin, or offer a polite apology and keep walking. Cameras were not rolling. There was no crowd waiting to applaud. This was a moment without an audience, or so it seemed. Kennedy paused, looked directly at Michael, and instead of reaching for his wallet, he asked a question that caught everyone off guard. "Tell me your story," he said quietly. The words were simple, but they landed with force. Michael hesitated, unsure if this was real or just another passing gesture, but something in Kennedy's tone, a calm, unhurried, made him speak. Michael talked about losing his job after an injury, about medical bills that stacked up faster than he could pay them, about a family that slowly drifted away as shame and distance grew. He spoke about nights spent counting stars because counting sheep only reminded him of the home he no longer had. As he talked, Kennedy listened, not the distracted listening people do while waiting for their turn to speak, but the kind that says, "I see you." Passers-by slowed. A small circle formed. The city, for once, held its breath. When Michael finished, there were tears in his eyes. He repeated his question, almost apologetically. "Sierra Broken Bar, can you give me $1? That's when Kennedy's response turned shocking. He smiled gently and said, "I could give you $1, but that won't respect you the way you deserve." He reached into his wallet, not pulling out a single bill, but handing Michael several. Then he did something no one expected. He sat down beside him on the cold stone steps. "This isn't charity," Kennedy said. "This is a reminder that you matter." But the moment didn't end there. Kennedy asked Michael what he needed most right now. Not tomorrow, not someday, right now. Michael admitted he hadn't eaten a real meal in 2 days. Kennedy stood up, offered his hand, and said, "Then let's eat." Security shifted uncomfortably. Schedules were forgotten. Together, they walked to a nearby diner. Inside, people whispered, unsure if what they were seeing was real. Kennedy ordered food and insisted Michael choose whatever he wanted. For the first time in a long while, Michael didn't order the cheapest thing. He ordered what he truly wanted. Over that meal, the conversation deepened. Kennedy talked about his own upbringing, about moments when help from a stranger made a difference. Michael listened, surprised to hear vulnerability from a man so often seen as untouchable. They laughed. They shared stories. The dollar that started the exchange faded into something much larger, dignity. When the check came, Kennedy paid without hesitation, but he didn't stand up right away. He asked Michael one last question. "If someone gave you a chance, what would you do with it?" Michael answered without pause, "I'd work. I'd prove I'm more than what the street turned me into." Kennedy made a call right there at the table, not to a camera crew, not to social media, to someone who could help. Within days, Michael was connected to a local shelter program that offered job placement and temporary housing. Kennedy didn't announce it, he didn't post about it. The story only came out later, shared by someone who witnessed the moment and couldn't stop thinking about it. When it finally reached the public, it spread fast, and not because it was flashy, but because it felt real. Critics, as always, questioned motives. Was it staged? Was it political? But Michael's life began to change in quiet, undeniable ways. He got a room. He got a job interview. He started calling his sister again. None of it happened overnight, and none of it was easy. There were setbacks, moments when the weight of the past tried to pull him back, but there was also something new, belief. Someone with power had looked at him and said, without words, "You are worth stopping for." When asked later about the encounter, Kennedy didn't focus on himself. He said, "I didn't do anything special, I just listened." If more of us did that, we wouldn't be shocked by kindness as we'd expect it. Those words struck a nerve. In a world flooded with outrage and division, this small act cut through the noise. It reminded people that compassion doesn't require permission, and dignity doesn't have a price tag. The shocking part of the story was never the money. It was the pause, the choice to stop, the decision to see a human being instead of a problem. A homeless man asked for $1, and instead, he was given respect, time, and a path forward. As the story continues to circulate, it leaves behind a powerful question for everyone watching. If you were asked for just $1, would you give Ida or would you give something greater? In the end, this wasn't just a news story, it was a mirror. It asked us who we are when no one is watching, and who we could become if we chose empathy over indifference. Michael's journey is still unfolding, and Kennedy has returned to his busy life, but that moment on the steps remains. A reminder that sometimes the most shocking responses are the simplest ones: listening, caring, and acting with heart.